And welcome back to JKMoto Podcast, presented by Working Class Customs, your custom fabrication shop out of northern Utah. You can ask Cole for any more details there. I don't have anything else.
Nice. How you
But
doing
we
today?
are on the Working Class Customs YouTube channel as presented, and I would list off all the platforms that we're on, but you guys already know because that's what you're listening on. So give us a shout out, throw a comment, throw a like, subscribe, hit that download button, whatever it might be. This is your source for #1 moto content in America and around the world, because I know we have some around the world listeners, and we love you guys. Should we get started?
Not yet. I asked you a
Oh,
question. How
man.
are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I always have to check in, this era of depression in your generation.
Whoa. Over here, I don't believe in mental diseases. All right. I own motorcycles. We don't have room for depression or anxiety or any of that. We just got to go. You get on, you go fast. Pull the throttle and go. Don't think about anything else.
That's fair. Let's roll the intro.
All right, an intro.
Yesterday, at one point, I was in sixth.
And we're back.
We're back and we're live.
And we're alive, and we're doing a little Googling over there to see how long that straight is coming up this weekend.
We are Googling. The 14 turn, 2.27 mile circuit was designed in 1998 by famed track designer Alan Wilson. I know that guy. I've heard of him so many times with all the racetracks that he's. I'm gonna have to find some books on like racetrack designers because that's interesting to me. Like, have you seen that video of the how to design an F1 track, and they just get one of those big rubber bands and they just throw it on the ground and then it just like goes into a loopy? I
Yes.
imagine that's what these guys do, but there's no way it's that simple. 36 foot wide, repaved in July of 2020. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
They had a whole lot of trucks out there.
They have a whole lot of. There's a good YouTube video actually.
For
We're not going to link to because I don't remember what it was, but I watched a video on the whole repaving of that place. It was quite interesting.
That's pretty cool. All right, so there's not the only real straight is between turns 1 and 14. So turn 14 to turn 1 is 1,652 feet, which are you doing a drum roll?
I was pretending I could type on a keyboard.
Okay. Well, your mic made that sound real low, like bubbly. Hang on. 1,652 divided by 5,280, because this is American. We got miles, so it's 0.31287878787878787878 miles.
Calm down.
It just keeps going forever. Like it's taking over my screen. What did I say? 0.3, so a third of a mile, not even a half mile, but over a quarter mile. That's not too bad. But on the back here, I'll show you guys what we're dealing with. Let's see.
Let's
Share
take a look.
screen.
We're excited.
CMP track map 08. Boom. There it is. All right. So that was from here to here, 14 to turn 1. As you can see down here, maybe it might be a little small. Let me doop doop doop. Whoop. Right there, 1652 from turn 14 to turn 1. So we'll go back out here. There we go. That's turn 14. That's turn 1. So you come down, that would be that front straight. But this is definitely longer than that. Turn 7 to turn 8. Let's see. 7, 8. They don't have a... What? Why don't they have that distance?
That looks longer, but it's got a slight bow in it.
There is a slight bow, but I imagine you come out, you hit the outside, and then you just aim straight. I don't know. It'll be interesting. That'll be kind of interesting. Anyway, back to the standard. Yep, there we go. Yeah, that's where we're headed at the end of this week. So you guys will be watching this Wednesday, and we'll be there Saturday, Sunday, and hope that we don't have to put rain tires on because, well, we don't really have any.
Yeah, well, my better half's she's got all the Dunlop connections, so we might have to try a rain tire out, worst case scenario.
Okay. I'm not against that. Like I said, we'll have the old the Rabiconda I'm sure if you guys have been on the channel, you've seen the Rabiconda. I reused that to put your tires on your Gixxer. The second time around, I didn't even pull out the instructions at all, to be honest. No, I did. I did for like half a second just to make sure I had the tire on the right side of the duck head.
Braking.
Huh.
My understanding was real men don't pull the instructions out the first time.
Well, I had to. So I was filming a video.
Oh, fair
And I
enough.
was like, the instructions say to do this, so we're going to do this. And then I still get tips from everyone. I was like, well, I understand. Thank you. I
Men
take
don't
all.
read instructions, but they do give tips.
They do. And a lot of tips. You know, you ever go ask your neighbor for a torque wrench, even though you have 5, just because you know that he doesn't have one and he's hanging out with the other neighbors and it'll embarrass him.
You're trying to be the neighborhood alpha?
Yeah. Hey, man, you got a torque wrench? No. Oh, that's all right. I'll just use one of the 5 that I got. I just figured maybe I could borrow yours, but I guess you're not a man.
The neighborhood alpha.
That's a question for our non-American listeners. You guys foot pounds or Newton meters?
Oh, come on. My torque wrench does both.
Well, I know your torque wrench does both. So does mine, and I know that Newton meters is like the standard outside the U.S. But I'm so used to foot pounds. Have you guys used foot pounds at all? Is there any time you like open up your manual and it says foot pounds? You're like, oh, I'll just use foot pounds today, or you're just like, no, that's not cool.
They
I'm not
see
doing
foot
that.
pounds and then they're like, what is wrong with these cavemen?
Well, in Newton meters, I'll say when they say Newton meters for like a car, like it makes this many Newton meters, you get like really impressed because you're like, man, that's a big number.
Yeah.
And you convert it back into foot pounds, you're like, ah. But I will say, most of the world, I think, and maybe that's just because we're the Americans watch the most TV or something like that. But like back in the day, watching Top Gear, it was always miles per hour. Like when you're setting a land speed record or top speed or you're impressed, it's a 0 to 60, it's a miles per hour. That one sticks. And I know there's places in the world where like kilometers per hour is what the speed limit is. But if you're talking about speed, you're talking about fast, at least from my experience, even on TV shows from other countries, it's still miles per hour. And like I said, that might just be because we're such a big audience or because I think it's more just kind of a history thing. I don't know. It's a question for you, being the expert on history here. Is that something that you think just started in America, maybe kind of started racing, maybe? Or we care more about speed?
Well, so that we don't piss off those few international listeners that we do have, America didn't necessarily start racing. We just finished it.
Oh, you said you didn't want to piss them off?
And then now they're finishing it. So,
Yeah.
but at least in the sport we're here to talk about.
Hang on. There was a Camaro in the.
Yeah.
We put a NASCAR over it.
In the Le Mans class.
Yeah. There was. Here's all the other cars. Here's the Camaro.
Sweet.
If you haven't seen that picture, go look it up. It's pretty funny. Camaro at Le Mans. You'll see this like group of cars, and then there's just this Camaro in the background towering over all of them. So
yeah, that was a hell of an aerodynamic brick.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know the answer to your question though. That's kind of interesting because I mean I feel like when you're watching Moto-GP, for example, they predominantly talk about kilometers.
Yeah, whenever they pull up like the braking stats or the top speed, they'll have kilometers at the top and the miles per hour under it. Because I always like read the kilometers. I'm like, whoa, 362 down to 70. That's insane. Then I'm like, oh, okay, not as crazy as that, but still pretty crazy. It is like at Coda on that back straight. Holy cow! There is some braking that happens there.
Your algorithms and such are going to pull up, American. If you're on YouTube or whatever, it's going to pull up American sites predominantly.
For us, yeah.
For us. So most of the videos you see are always dealing with miles per hour, but every once in a while you're watching some video of an S1000 down the freeway and it's going 190 miles an hour and you're thinking, holy cow. And then you figure out, oh, whoops, that's kilometers. So it's not that fast.
Yeah. And then you see a Ducati go up to 360 and you're like, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Cause I agree with what you're saying about Top Gear. Top Gear, definitely back in the day, British show.
Yep.
Always reference miles per hour.
Yeah, and it was 0 to 60 times in miles per hour. And I don't know, like I said, I feel like that's just because Americans kind of attached to that. And so the whole world was like, okay, well, we can still build better cars, or we can whatever, but we know that this is, and it could even be just because the manufacturers were like, well, our 0 to 60 time is this, just to sell more cars here. I don't know, but
Well, if anybody out there knows, let us know, because
yeah, drop
I'd
a
like to know.
comment. Send us
I'd
a.
like to know if there's a reason for that. I mean, there's only like a handful of countries or less that drive on the wrong side of the road,
It's true.
and you would think that, I'm just trying to make the connection here. America, using the standard system, you'd think they'd be different than everybody else for other things like that. But everybody drives on the side of the road that we drive on, predominantly in the world.
What do you mean predominantly?
More people drive on the left-hand side of the road.
Yeah, we're on the
Right-hand side of
right.
the road.
Okay.
More people drive on the right-hand side of the road. I drive wherever.
Wherever there's room, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I live in the country, so when I'm driving a car, I usually put the, whatever hood ornament I got on there, right on the dotted line.
Yeah. Yeah, because otherwise you fall off the edge, or you get run over by the tractor. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, or you're driving to school and there's a school bus coming the other way, and you have to get off the road just to keep the school bus on the road because the road's not wide enough, and it goes like this. It's a 30-degree angle on either side, and you're like, all right, I'll just pull off. It'll be fine.
That's why motorcycles are nice, for the goat trails.
It's true. It's true. I don't know. I mean, so our brethren down under, if you will, down in the Australian country, that just makes sense, right? Because they're mirrored, so it makes sense that they're on the opposite side of the road. It's the same side, but it's upside down. But how do they keep their cars on the road?
Do you know why we drive on the side that we drive on?
No, honestly, no.
They say it's because
NASCAR. I don't know. I just had NASCAR.
Oh no!
Somehow we're going to relate this back to racing.
No. So my understanding is, if you were driving a horse and buggy, when you pass each other, you can see the other horse and buggy because you're close to them. You're more worried about
sit on the left side, but if you sit on the right, then you can see them going the other way.
Huh? No.
Yeah.
No, you sit on the left side of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And travel on the right side of the road.
Right. And if
you are always closest to the oncoming traffic, regardless of the direction you're going.
Right. So if you sit on the right side of the vehicle and travel on the left side of the road, it's the same thing. Which is why I'm saying your horse and buggy thing doesn't make much sense, because they could just scoot to the other side of the bench.
Well, then I have to go with, you don't want to have to shift with your left hand all the time.
That could be it. That could be it. Americans are more predominantly right-handed than the rest of the world. I don't think that's true. But that's interesting though, because the clutch foot and gas foot and the shift pattern doesn't change.
True.
You're still left foot clutch. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't been to another country, driven a right-hand drive car, but as far as I've understood, it's pretty easy to transfer over because your feet are still doing the same things, and the shift pattern's still the same. First is still all the way to the left and up, right?
So it becomes a problem when you bring one of them Skylines over from Japan.
Why?
Because then you're a left-hand drive, but you still have to drive on the right side of the road.
Yeah.
Then you think you're a damn mailman.
Yeah, they think they're cool. Yeah.
Because you pick up a mailman.
You pull up on the side of the road to all the ladies, and you're like, "Hey, what up?" And you're like right there. And then they're like, "How do I get in the car?" You're like, "Crap, man. I didn't think about that." You have to get out in the road where it's unsafe. And then you just flip a Bernie.
Well, maybe that's the other reason too.
That's why you just ride a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Right? Let's bring it all back, right? Motorcycles, there's no such thing as left-hand or right-hand drive.
Although
there might be thumb brakes and whatever else, but
who got in trouble in the last Moto-GP race? I know you don't know this, but maybe I heard. Did you know it's illegal to take your hands off the handlebars in a Moto-GP race?
What?
I mean, obviously you take it off and you flip people off and you do whatever, right?
Yeah.
But going down the straight, it is illegal to like put your hand on the remove your hand and put it somewhere else to make yourself more aerodynamic.
Whoa. Okay.
This was
not
news
where I
to
thought
me.
that was going. But yeah, okay. Interesting.
This was news to me, but apparently back in the day there was people putting additional handlebars on so that they could, when they went down the straight, they could move to the inside and tuck.
Like the freaking freaking road cyclists that have the extra
Yeah.
that can get real stretched out.
They got the big like horn things.
Well, they got those, but then they'll have like way out there. They'll have two just going straight out.
You're making
Straight
me
out in
car
front
sick.
of them. Huh? What?
You're making me car sick.
How? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, people at home can't see, but you're doing this to me.
Yeah. You know, people, that doesn't make any sense. You are confusing because you always say people at home, but the people at home would be watching. The people on the road would be listening.
That's fair.
So you're backwards.
Yep.
You are in Australia.
No, I'm in Utah for 2 more days.
All right. What are we actually supposed to be talking about this week? We had a whole topic planned out.
Yeah, we have a topic planned out, but let me start it here. Let's start with tires.
Oh boy.
I want to talk to you about tires.
That's a dangerous. Okay. Go ahead.
I had kind of an interesting experience, and for the longtime listeners, this may be interesting, but we had Anthony on here, however many weeks ago,
AKA Lugnut.
AKA Lugnut. And one of the questions we asked him, not to bring him up again, but one of the questions we asked him that day was, I think you said, if I take 2 pounds of pressure out of your tire, are you going to notice? If I sneak over there and I do it without you knowing, right as you go on the track, are you going to notice? And I've been explaining to you all year the dramatic increases in the feeling that I've gained on the bike on the track.
Right. As you've started.
Yes.
Yes.
As the times drop, the sensitivity of some of those things, it just, your suspension setup, the condition of your tires, all those things become more and more and more important. And you just start feeling them and crazy, right? So I started the year. This was just really interesting to me personally. Maybe somebody at home has found this same thing out. They can comment about this. But I race on Dunlops. I do my track days on Dunlops. Honestly, I don't have anything against any of the other tires. It's just Dunlop's what Americans use, American company, and so I started with it. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
There you go.
I'll be honest. That's not to say maybe I throw a Pirelli on and I'm like, why I've been wasting my time with those things, right? I don't know.
Although I will say, am I allowed to say it? Someone may have not just posted an all-time lap record, kind of sorts, on a Dunlop. They used to ride on Pirelli.
That's true.
Maybe it means something. I don't know. He was talking crap at the beginning.
I don't know.
I
don't know.
Not that I hate Pirelli. I literally have a Pirelli lanyard on my keys. I just can't afford it. Like that's that's the issue. Is I just can't afford it. I'm like, Pirelli, they're the best. I'm going to Dunlop.
So I started the year. Okay, to reiterate one more time for the listeners, I am not trying to start a tire war because I am openly admitting that I have only run Dunlops on the track.
Tire war. You know what? Vote in the comments. How about that? Vote in the comments. Yeah. Just brand a tire. I'll add them all up. We'll get a tally for you next week. Whatever wins. We're probably going to get like one comment, and it's probably going to be Pirelli.
And that's fine.
But vote in the comments, please. Please, please, please. Or DM us on Instagram at JKMoto Podcast. Send us a DM. Click the follow button. You don't have to. I don't care. I'll accept the DM. If it's not you asking me if you'll let you draw my bike, or however they ask that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You mean those aren't personal? Everybody gets those?
JKMoto Podcast does.
Oh, man.
I personally haven't ever gotten them, but...
Oh, really? I've got like 5 different ones. I thought I was special.
Yeah, you're special. Yeah.
Perfect. Tires, okay?
Tires, back. Okay.
So I started the season on last year's profile.
Correct. A 260 and a 120/70.
Yes. But for
200 or a 190? I know you were running a 190.
I was on 190s, but I've been on 200s for slicks the whole time.
Okay. All right. And 190s on the Q4s?
Yep.
Okay.
And 5s. But, well, actually, 200s on the 5s. Doesn't matter. This is a slick related.
All right. Slicks only. All right.
Slicks only. So
dialed in.
I started the season on the old profile.
Mm-hmm.
Worked for me. Love it. Yep. Great. I just didn't know they had changed. So I was still ordering them online. I still
Right.
had slicks coming in, and then they ran out of inventory on the one I wanted to run. And I said, how can they run out of inventory? And that's when I found out that the profile had changed. They were just using up their old inventory on me.
Yeah.
Everybody said, you're going to love the new profile. Going to love it. I put it on, and to be honest, did not feel a difference. So I'm going back to that, how much you feel or don't feel, right?
Right.
I switched to the new profile. No big deal. It's fine. And then I continued with the year, dropping times, running on that new profile, starting to really feel, if I got 10 laps, 20 laps, 30 laps on the slick, I am feeling the difference between all of those.
Right.
Something Josh said, shout out to Josh in his, when we were talking to him, he said, maybe it was in that tech video.
It was, yeah, the race tech video. Yep.
Yeah, he said, no reason to take the sticker off. Your slick is the best it'll ever be when you pull out of the pit for the first time. When you
With the
pull out of the
sticker
paddock,
still on it. Yeah, in fact, that.
yeah,
Yeah.
leave a sticker on it. It'll be better than it'll ever be again. And I feel that so much now.
Which is interesting because I think I remember you saying that you tried that and you didn't feel so good at first.
Well,
I could be wrong, but I thought there was a
no,
point.
you're right. There was a situation where I went out on track in the first 2 laps pushing, and it was moving around quite a bit on me. And I didn't know whether I could attribute that to the sticker. That was in the back of my mind, though, because there was just a couple places where it slipped out. But ever since then, I've never taken them off, and I've never had that issue. So as I've become more and more comfortable with the bike, more and more being able to feel what it's doing, I play with air pressures quite a bit now. We were just at the track last weekend, and I was all over the place. I'll tell you why, but that's not the point of my story. So the point of my story is I went to the track, and every once in a while, maybe you get a bad tire, one that doesn't work as good as the other ones.
Sure.
Maybe the conditions. I mean, you hear about Pecco blamed his crash on a bad Michelin.
Yeah.
So
it's easy.
Yeah, and I'm obviously not at that level, but
what?
I mean, I'm close. If I lost 100 pounds, I'd have them all. But so I went out. I showed up to the track, brand new, fresh slick, still running the same front. I asked the Dunlop guy, I'm like, this thing doesn't even look wore out. Is this suspension setup? I mean, this tire is wearing perfect in the front. I mean, it's beautiful. Don't tell anybody, but it's probably got, after this weekend, it's probably got 60 laps on the damn thing.
Jesus.
And it looks great. And I talked to the Dunlop guy.
The joys of riding a leader bike, my friends.
Well, I said, my hell, this tire is going to last forever. And the Dunlop guy there at the track, he tells me, well, honestly, the fronts, he says he has a lot of people with the fronts where they just kind of time out, too many heat cycles. That the tire's not wore, just too many heat cycles.
Okay.
So, okay, fine. How do we get the back to last longer then, right? And I've been playing with some things, playing with pressures for multiple track days at this point. You know, you're always playing with those things, but I've been focused the last two, trying to get this figured out. So, brand new slick, show up to the track on the rear. First session, we had 30-minute sessions this week, which was so nice. So nice.
Gives you some time to actually.
I was doing 14 laps. You know, I normally get like 8 maybe.
Right.
I was going out when I felt like it and coming in when I felt like it and doing like 14 laps.
That's not bad.
But it gives you such an opportunity when you're trying to maybe chase a time.
Right.
It was such an opportunity to say, you know, not feeling it. And so, you know, the last corner, this is at UMC
West, right?
West.
Yep.
That last corner, I would purposely, I knew I had killed, like a lap was no good. It wasn't a PR, wasn't anywhere near. So I'd come around and I'd take that last corner really wide intentionally. I take it really wide to make the straight longer because I know this lap's dead, but I want to get the next one. So I wind it up. Anyway, I come back in after the first session. It was like 10 laps, maybe 11 laps on the first one. And it was pretty cold. That tire was garbage.
Jeez. That's not
I mean,
what
it
you
was,
want to see. Not a brand new one.
no, it was shelving. It was tearing. It was, I mean, I even had the Dunlop guys looking at it and they're kind of like, I don't know. What's your pressure? That's good. No tire should be doing that.
Right.
For those listening, I'm running an R7, so it's a medium. So it's not like I'm out there on a super soft or anything. It was
Dunlop R7, not a Yamaha R7, just in case anyone was confused there.
I rolled one of them up and rolled on it. So I took it out again for the second session. Now that track is heavy left turns.
Mm-hmm.
So the left side was already destroyed. But after coming back after the second session, which was another 11, 12 laps, the right there's no wear dots. They're gone.
Jeez. Okay.
Like they're completely gone. And they're almost gone on the right side of the tire. And it's shelving and it's garbage and it's whatever. And I was hoping to do the day on it. So I walked over to my happy neighborhood Dunlop guy. And since this is for those listening around the world, which is going to be a topic here later, we're coming into winter here.
Mm-hmm.
Tracks are shutting down. You can't keep slicks over the winter out in the, negative 20 degrees and all those. No. It's not good on those. Yeah, they crack. They
literally, if you haven't, I'm sure many of our listeners here have slick experience, but I don't know if you have cold slick experience. You get anywhere near 40 degrees or lower, they literally turn into icicles.
Mm-hmm.
And they feel like icicles, like you drop them just barely and they're going to freaking crack apart. And they will too. That's what's kind of crazy about it. But yeah, I remember that trip a couple of years ago that we made down to California. I brought slicks in a trailer. They weren't on the bike or anything, or even on the bike. Pulled them out of the trailer and they're rock hard.
Oh,
like you don't need pressure in them anymore. They're just stiff. Like it was kind of scary.
The compounds have changed inside the tire. Molecules.
Yeah.
So I go over and talk to the handy dandy Dunlop guy, and they don't have any tires. They've moved all their inventory to California at this point.
Okay.
So he had gathered up some Q5s, front and rears, to get through the day. So a lot of people were just running Q5s. That's not what I wanted.
Right.
So I was like, well, I was debating on getting the other bike out. Didn't know what I was going to do. And he goes, I have some used ones. And I said, you got used ones in there? And he said, I just threw them in just in case. And I said, well, what are they? He says, I got softs. I got mediums. I don't have any hards. And I said, well, what do you want? He says, $40. He says, let's say one of them for $40. I'm like, all right. So I go through his pile and a bunch of them look really good. And they look like a slick is supposed to wear, like a sandy beach, right?
Yeah.
So I picked me one out and I glanced at it. It looked funny. So I glanced at it and it was the old profile.
Okay.
And I said, well, how old is this thing? And he says, they're last year's tires. And I said, like last year? And he goes, no, just this past season, but they're, maybe from the beginning of the year or whatever, as people were switching out for the new profile. And I said, well, what choice do I have? Let's see what one of those do. No suspension change on the bike. No, nothing. I didn't change anything except that rear tire. I ran, let's say I averaged 10 laps a session. It was more than that, but I ran 4 more sessions on that tire, like a sandy beach. It looks, you'll see it this week or not.
Yeah, in Arizona.
That's one I'll be starting in Arizona.
Yeah.
But so on one side of the coin, also not the point of the story, but interesting, I think. But on one side of the coin, the tire was wearing great, was perfect. Right. I now set my personal all-time record on that old profile. So one might say, even the Dunlop guy was telling me, he's like, you can still get this one and this one. They're still selling them. He goes, they haven't ran out yet. He goes, actually, some of them have come back in stock. So you can still get the old profile if you're liking that. And, I told him it's not worth it. I need to be able to do what I want to do on the new one. Because going forward, if I'm going to stay Dunlop, then that's what I need to do,
so,
right?
Old profile on the rear only, right?
Yep. So I was still running the.
A 120/75 up front
Yep.
and a 260 in the rear.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. Because there is something to be said too for your profiles between the two tires. Because if you think about it, if a bike leaned over, if you change the profile of the front, it's going to change where it sits on the rear.
Right.
So
So
just food for thought there,
which I have a couple R8s I'm bringing to Arizona also.
What are those?
Hard.
Hard?
Mm-hmm.
Is there R7 the medium?
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I'm going to see what that's all about, because I got to do something to save some money, if nothing else.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I want to set times, but it makes no sense for a guy like me to be running a tire per session.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
So anyway, the real point of this whole story was that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is, I mentioned at the beginning of the year, didn't even notice the profile difference.
Right.
I go out on that tire and about put it in the damn weeds like for 3 laps straight, because it is not the same. To go back, my sensitivity or whatever has come up, I guess, to where, oh yeah, I know. We've made a change. It's not the same. And wow, it scared me multiple occasions, and then got used to it. And like I said, I actually set my PR on that tire.
Now, do you think that's because of the profile or just because?
No, but I hope not. Because if that's the case, I might be looking to switch.
Yeah.
Because I believe that, again, in the comments, anybody want to blow me up on any of these, that's fine. Because I'm not saying this is gospel. But I think I know. So we released a shootout on tire warmers.
Yep.
Came out Monday. When I was doing that, I had one of them construction. I bought it off of Instagram. It's one of them things that catch your eye, and you're like, "Oh man, I got to have one of those, right?" But it's like little plastic pieces that you can put on like the corner of the house to measure.
Okay. Yeah.
Does it make sense? It like pushes the different little
Yep.
sticks in or whatever.
Yep. So you get the shape.
Yeah. So I bought one of those, and it's laying around. I've never used it, like most things I buy from Instagram. And I was looking at the tire, and I was like, that would measure the profile great, right? But I have a Pirelli Diablo slick. What is it?
Slick?
Huh?
Yes. Well, usually I just call them the SC1, 2, or 3, but yeah, it's Diablo. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one of those.
A slick.
Yeah, it's a takeoff that I picked up.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but I had the old style Dunlop sitting there because I have the R8s that I have are the old profile.
Okay.
Also takeoffs, right? So I took that thing and I checked them, and I was gonna actually put it in that video just for fun. And I was like, I'm going to show the massive difference between this and a Dunlop.
All right.
So I put that thing on there and I set it all up. And then I put it on the Dunlop expecting all this big difference. And it was the same. It was like almost identical. Like I couldn't tell a difference actually. So
interesting, because I've always been told and shown in videos that the Dunlops are, steeper. They're taller.
the new one's definitely, this was the old. This is the old one. The new ones are definitely tall, because you'll notice when you switch them on your bike, there's no more fender clearance.
I don't have rear fenders anyway, but I guess on the front, yeah.
You should put a rear fender back on your bike.
I tried that. I ordered one, and then it didn't fit.
Yeah, you should put that on there because, well, I don't have to worry about that with you, but sometimes when you're following people, you get in the face with rocks and stuff. So
rubber in the face, yeah.
That's slick.
What do you mean you don't have to worry about that with me?
You heard me.
Oh, interesting. All right, you think you're just not going to be behind me ever, huh?
Well,
I know it's been a minute, but like I can still
the
ride.
rule. Well, you started this.
I'm not going to just
and
like
the
let
rule.
you.
We're putting the times for the whole podcast.
Yeah, that's true. We are.
We're going to put the times at the bottom of the pictures, and
but we're swapping bikes too.
Okay. I'm driving the Aprilia.
In Arizona, maybe. We're not taking that to Carolina.
Ah,
I've offered that to you so many
I know you
times.
have
You can
many
ride it
times,
whenever
but
you want.
I'm ready now. Now that you've crashed it.
Oh, I just had to put the first scratches on it, huh?
Yeah, now
All
there's
right.
some scratches on it. We're good. I'll take her first spin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was my tire experience from the race weekend, but it was interesting.
So the race weekend we got to roll into our actual topic here.
Hold on.
Oh man, okay.
Hold on. It was kind of a surprise for me to be at the track.
Yeah.
So just to touch on that, we've talked a couple different times about it or whatever, but the UMC, the Utah Superbike Association, we've only been able to race on the West track this year. The track is capable of 4 different configurations, yada yada. Yep. We've already talked about this, but typically in a race season, they'll alternate from the east to the west, maybe throw a perimeter round in the middle somewhere. But the season is generally 6 races. This year it was cut to 4, and all 4 were on the west because insurance, whoever, won't let us race on the east. Motorcycles, cars are still welcome there, but motorcycles are not allowed because they don't have enough good air fence.
Fence. Yep.
So we've talked about it a couple times, but the Utah Superbike Association, Apex Track Days has been helping them out quite a bit, donating a lot of time and money to them. And UMC itself has voiced their commitment for motorcycles.
Okay.
They want to be a good partner. They want to help out. And it looks like if it goes the way we think it's going to go, next year we'll be back to 6 races, and it'll be 2-day events.
All right.
So basically
12
days
races. Okay.
So I talked to Josh a little bit about that, about how they'll break it down, and they'll probably add some endurance races.
Okay.
And they'll try to set it up.
So not your wheelhouse then.
Hey, come on.
Well, I'm just saying, old people don't usually last as long, so.
Hearsay. So you can't make fun of me because Josh was making fun of me. Not to keep bringing him up, but I tried using the old excuse on him. He popped off about some 70-year-old guy that's out there. And I said, yeah, but is he fast? And he just looked at me, just serious as could be. And he says, faster than you.
Oof.
That's what he did.
That's hard from Josh, too, because Josh is such a nice guy.
I know. I oftentimes tell him he's the nicest guy I know. And then this happens.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't ever know what to say back.
That's not rude. He can't deny it,
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that is because he said they'll split the races up. So it's not going to be like the same race 2 days in a row. So let's say stock 1000 race. That's either going to be on Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
They'll build a schedule, of course.
Right.
But now that opens it up so they can have more events, more classes.
Right.
Which that's good. I think that's good.
Well, it should be good because then you're not. I mean, you could run every class you want and not just be all on top of each other, trying to rush out from the pits back. Like, I mean, there were a couple times people are literally just turning around right back into the hot pits. So,
yeah, and not my concern. I've voiced my concerns. My concerns are financially. They're going to charge Saturday and Sunday is going to be 2 different prices, or you'll have to pay for a Saturday and then pay for a Sunday.
Okay. Yeah.
And maybe there'll be a price break if you buy both, but there's no way it doesn't cost more.
Right.
So we're back up to 6. It's more money for each one of those 6 rounds. I don't know. It'll be interesting. They used to do 2-day race days, but that was before my time, and most people seem quite excited about it. So we'll give it a chance.
Should be fun.
Her a chance before
I mean, if nothing else, it'll be good to be back on East and West. See if I think what I'm excited for you, and I think you might be excited for also is you're about to come out to Carolina Motorsports Park on a different bike, and then you're gonna go to Podium Club on your bike, and then next year you'll be running East, West, possibly Perimeter. How much of what you've learned and how much accomplishment you've made has been overall, and how much has been I've run west so many times, right? And it's not a diss on you, but just purely if I run the same track over and over and over again, I'm going to be amazing on that track.
Right.
How does that carry out to other places, to other bikes, to other tracks, to, where can you relate a turn at Utah to a turn over here, whatever it might be. So I'm kind of excited to see that. I don't know. I mean, we re-geared the Gixxer, so who knows? I still own the rocket ship, but who knows? We'll see how that goes.
I got some gears and some slicks now.
And slicks, yeah. And you're on the new ones. I am not for Carolina, so that'll be kind of interesting.
They're never as good as they are coming out of the box.
Yeah.
So
we'll see about that in the rain.
Yeah, so I'm quite excited for those same reasons. I'm really interested to see how that works.
Mm-hmm.
From a racer standpoint, though, I want to point out that running the West Track over and over again, there's been a few times where I'm like, man, I've done so many laps. I mean, that's another 65, 70 laps.
Yeah.
Just Sunday, right?
Right.
I've done so many laps over there, but so is everybody else.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think
That's
that
true.
the paddock in general has become West Track experts.
Yeah.
Right. UMC, right? Everybody's had to have stepped up their game because they're not ever erasing the memory and going back to the other one and then coming back again. So it's going to be interesting because not only am I worried, or I'm interested to see what it does at Carolina at Podium Club, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm also curious, like next season when it kicks up, it needs to carry over to the East. I don't want to start over again, right?
Yeah. Well, and that'll be the question. Do they start with the West to give
I don't
everyone
know.
a good, warm up round? Like, all right, we're back. We're racing again. Again, to bring us back into our actual topic that we're supposed to be covering. After the winter, or is it just, nah, here's the East. Good luck. See who actually remembers it. Because I don't know. I would venture to say with how many track days and races you've done this year, you might have double the amount of West experience as you do East.
Yeah, I probably.
Which is kind of insane because you were running East for at least 2 years, if not 3. East and West, right? Alternating, but just doing track days. And this year you started racing, but you're pretty much just the West.
Yeah, and I used to look forward to the East days. The West would bum me out.
Yep. So maybe that'll be a good thing. Who knows? Maybe now you go to the East and you hate it. Or maybe you're like, man, this is even better than it was before because you found speed that you didn't know you had before. Who knows?
Yeah.
I can say that, I think we've mentioned this before, but going to different racetracks will definitely help you out. Because
Absolutely.
you'll take turns at different racetracks that you've never seen before a different way. And you come back to your home track and you're like, hang on a second, I can carry more speed through here. I can just, for me anyway, being a little bit slower, not racing, whatever, it was just like going to some faster tracks showed me that I didn't need to slow down so much for corners. But it also applies to racing lines and just kind of all around the place, going around, checking out different racetracks, seeing different lines, different speeds, different braking points, different whatever is going to translate to better on your home track. 100%.
Absolutely. We got to get you on the racetrack.
Racing. Yeah.
We got to get you racing because conversation I was also having at the track was just, what's changed. And, one of the things I used to struggle with is I'm a courteous, kind person.
Mm-hmm.
Long pause. So sometimes, on a track day or whatever, you don't want to. I was laughing about this the other day because on a track day, I would always, I don't want to ruin this guy's day. Like everybody's here for fun. I can pass this guy, but let's not do it aggressive. And I'm not recommending that you pass people aggressive on a track day. Don't get me wrong. One of the, what do you call it? One of the
Coaches,
no,
marshals,
one of the things I had that
bullet
hindered my
points.
progress.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the things that hindered my early progress was I'd get behind a rider that I was obviously faster than. I caught up to him, but then you just get stuck behind him.
Yeah, looking for a clean pass.
Looking for a clean pass, and pretty soon you'd have a bike fly by you, that guy, and whoever was in front of them. Just smooth as hell. And you're like, man, how do you do that? So You got to teach yourself not to, you know, focus on the bike ahead of you. You need to keep them in your peripherals. You need to pass them, you know, almost like they're not there. You don't want them to take momentum away from you as you're going through this or that. Or there's all these things, and I worked on all those things, and I got better at it. And then you go racing.
Yeah.
You go racing, and nobody gives a shit. You know, it's just every man for himself out there. But
Yeah.
after you do that for a while,
put the bike wherever you can to win, right?
right? But after you do that for a minute, the progression just went burp, 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 burp. And
Right.
you go back to a track day, and now you're that guy just blowing by bikes like, you know, it's just kind of interesting. So we got to get you on the track. It's a different on a race day
On the grid. Yeah.
on the grid.
Yeah.
And
We'll see.
somebody
I
asked
gotta.
me. Somebody asked me when we were going to get you on there. So I'm just trying to do my due diligence. I told them we're still pushing. It's going to happen, just for some other reasons.
It will happen at some point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't tell you when. At some point. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to happen. We'll get there. So I think, can I take a hit at BMW before we go?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I
You
know
know
you
who you're
want me
talking
to.
to? Yeah.
So let me do
Absolutely.
this. I had a, I think I might have told you, but so I've done 2 track days, 2 weekends in a row, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first one, I went out after the second session, and my shifter may or may not have fell off. And
Yep.
this is
Remember
not
that.
BMW's fault, right? This part isn't BMW's fault, but shifter fell off, and there's a spacer between the shifter and the engine case. That spacer was gone, and I knew it was gone. So I went back to the old toolbox, and I did some, you know, some redneck ingenuity. I put something together that got me through the day.
Yeah. Redneck. Yeah.
But halfway through the day, I thought I heard something moving around. And so I popped off the belly pan, and would you believe my part was in the belly pan? Those things really work.
Belly pans do work. I can tell you about how many rocks I've collected in there. And
So I
maybe
got that part out. I
oil
got the
that might
part out,
be.
and I chose not to put it on the bike that day
Okay. Yeah.
because I didn't want to lose it. So, and it was working the way I had it Jimmy rigged. Finished out the day, but of course I come home and put it on. So that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, after the second session, I was hammering on the brakes like I do. I know where the brake lever is now.
That's good.
So
The
I'm hammering
rear
on the
or the
brake.
front?
Huh?
The rear or the front?
Just the front.
Okay. All right. Haven't
So
figured the rear out yet.
no, I still haven't touched it. I don't think on this one, but my grip started feeling like it was twisting
Okay. Yep.
on my left hand. Like when I'd brake hard, I could feel it twisting. And so, you know, you'd come down the straight and I'd be sitting there messing with it.
Left hand.
Mm-hmm.
Brake
Mm-hmm.
with the clutch in.
Oh, under braking. Like when I was braking hard, I just feel
Okay.
that grip
All right.
turn.
All right. All right. Gotcha. Okay.
So
Understood.
it was turning like quarter inch, but I thought it was the grips spinning on the tube maybe or the bar.
Yeah.
It's that stupid thing I told you about that BMW does.
I'm not remembering.
So remember
Remind me.
I couldn't change to the grips. I couldn't change the grips out on the old bike when I was trying to throw them together. Something I complained about on here a while ago.
Yeah. I remember that.
So the grip itself has the tube built into it
Right.
on both sides. The one doesn't spin, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but the reason they don't spin is there's a bolt. There's a teeny little bolt that goes all the way through the handlebar, and there's a nut built into the other side of it. That makes
Okay.
sense?
Yep.
You're
Yep.
not just putting a grip over a bar. You're putting a grip over a tube that's over the bar.
Yeah. And then bolt the tube onto the bar.
Because the controls are mounted to that tube. So your controls on either side have a tube connected to them.
Okay. And that's the same on the old and the new one, is what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And the new one kind of makes sense with the whiz wheel. The old one, it's just buttons.
Yep. So right there next to the whiz wheel, I had to grab the grip and pull it back, and that bolt was sticking out like millimeters. It was out
Well,
like
What is smaller than a millimeter?
Don't start. I'm sorry I started you. So anyway, it was out more than a quarter of an inch,
Mm-hmm.
but the grip was holding the bolt in. So the bolt that actually came out and it's just turning back and forth with this little. Anyway, kind of stupid thing, but it's a stupid thing. So I just wanted to point out again, it's a stupid thing.
That's like some classic BMW stuff, though. They've
I
got
know.
like such high technology, and the engineering behind it is amazing until it doesn't work, and then it's like, who ever? And if you go back to their design, you'd be like, okay, it makes sense, right? I get why they did this, but then you use it, and you're like, no, this is this is terrible. This will not work. They're like, well, but all right, I'm not gonna. Sorry, I was gonna start talking about Hans and all of them, but anyway, we won't do that.
Hansi Franzi put that thing. I think Hansi Franzi forgot to tighten it up, possibly.
Yeah, that's what it kind of sounds like. Is it? I get what you're saying. I'm trying to picture in my head bolt going through nut, and you're saying the bolt came out the other way and it was then just sliding around. But it's so insane because like who else does that?
Nobody that I've seen.
Yeah, like it's just purely a BMW thing.
But I did
You know
find
why? It's because they're not in MotoGP.
Oh, they're coming. They got to be.
I don't believe it.
Garrett Gerloff didn't race this weekend, but shout out to him anyway. He just deserves it that much. So I did find me a Alpha Racing. Alpha Racing makes a quick turn throttle.
Okay, all right.
And it's plug and play. So on this side, right on the right side, it gets rid of the controls. The factory controls gets you the fancy Nintendo buttons.
So I thought you could adjust your throttle pull.
Yeah, I thought so too, but
No.
no.
Huh. But you can adjust brake pressure
Mm-hmm.
and clutch pressure.
Well, not exactly. So I can monitor the brakes.
Okay.
I mean, you can monitor the brakes, but your biggest things are your engine braking, engine braking, the wheelie, how much torque it gives the engine coming out of a corner, all those kind of things, or you can do
Yeah, your
ridiculous.
classic brake traction control in all 4 axes and call it good. Yeah,
Yes.
got it.
Anyway, I got to get me a. Do you remember what a
Sorry.
Motion Pro?
Axes.
What
Under
they cost?
200. I want to say $160.
Yeah.
You know what?
Alpha Racing's $834, and to be fair, the Motion Pro doesn't come with the buttons.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'm trying to be fair.
Yeah.
And Domino makes some cheaper versions, but they kind of scare me because there's some cheaper ones that don't replace the factory controls. But I've been burned a couple times on that, so I just want the factory controls to go away.
I get what you're
But
saying.
it's actually $1,600 because you have to have one in the trailer.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna look up Motion Pro for 2010 BMW. How about that?
Love it.
Just because that's gonna be more on the expensive side anyway. Let's see, shop by brand, show more.
I'm thinking they don't make one.
Motion Pro. I thought you had one. Motion Pro Rev 3, $160.
For a
BMW
22?
S1000 RR 09 to 14. I said I was looking for a 2010.
No, man.
Yeah, to get the price, right? Just to double check
sorry.
what we just
I'm sorry.
said.
I'm sorry. Well, how much was that when you said?
160.
Yep. But I bet they don't make one for the new one
I'll go for
because
a 22.
it's fly-by-wire.
So's the old one.
Two cables.
Nope. Still fly by wire. Cables go to a wire. Promise. Maybe. I could be wrong on that.
You are wrong on that. You think I haven't changed it three
It goes
times
down to a throttle body?
Yeah. Well, it goes down to the mechanical actuator. It's not a wire.
Really? They don't have it. No, Motion Pro doesn't have one. On Sport Bike Track Gear.
See, so which brings me to I do like the fact that Motion Pro makes the one with the different cam gears, right? Although I just picked one and have never changed it. So I don't know why it's that cool. If you just knew what one you wanted in the first place, you wouldn't need them all.
True. Yeah.
But the Alpha Racing one doesn't give you an option. It's just 65 degrees.
Interesting. Okay.
Because it's electronic, it's probably set up to be programmed a certain
To
way,
say
right?
that the S1000RR features traction control, fly-by-wire throttle management, variable engine mapping, or linked ABS braking seems woefully inadequate. They have integrated all these systems in a clever rider-focused way. Rain mode, for example, still gives the rider access to 150 horsepower.
And
I'm pretty freaking sure it's a ride-by-wire. It's just a weird one. Seems like the only reason for drive-by-wire is to keep the engine's power at bay. With ECU tuning, throttle bodies can be programmed to
on
open
what year,
sooner.
though? A 2010 is definitely not.
I don't know. That first article was a 2010. Because I'm confused how you can have. So here's. I always thought they were fly-by-wire because you could put a clutchless downshifter on there with an auto blip. It just plugs in, plug and play. I thought.
But that's on the clutch side.
No, an auto blip is 100%. You have to have a fly-by-wire system to have an auto blip, or you have to
So,
have some sort of pneumatic actuator for your throttle.
but what I'm saying is,
Uh-huh.
it has a position sensor on the. Well, that's true.
To get the engine to rev up, you have to have some sort of either wire control or something else that will turn the throttle body. Which I understand you've changed out the throttle, so you're probably correct. But I always understood that they were some sort of weird fly-by-wire cable down to it, but still a fly-by-wire in the end, or the ECU still had
But on
control
the
of it.
2010, you only have up.
I agree, but I'll do more research into that. Right? Note there. Let me look into it because I thought the ECU still had control of the throttle somehow. And that's how you had all that traction control, wheelie control, all your different controls and everything, and you could just put a auto blip on it. But
Well, that's definitely true on the new ones. Do your research on the old ones.
okay, I will.
Let's move into the subject you wanted to talk about.
Okay, what is the subject?
So we started a little bit, but as the leaves begin to change,
Colors and fall
colors in the mountains,
from the trees.
there starts to be a bit of a nip in the air.
You go from,
So,
man, should I wear jeans for protection to I need jeans because it's cold.
right. So headed to the track, going through the canyon, I hit like 46 degrees.
Yeah, well, that's what I woke up to this morning.
Feeling awfully cold. So we wanted to give a happy dappy friendly reminder to what maybe you should do if you live in a colder climate. What things do we not want you to forget?
Yeah.
I'll go first. I got one.
Okay.
If you're running water at the track, straight water in your radiator, now's the time to dump it and get something that won't freeze in there.
Yeah. Unless
Flush
you have,
it.
if you have a
Climate control.
climate controlled garage, do whatever you want. But
It still might be safe to do it just so that if the heater don't go off and you're in vacation in Hawaii, you don't come home and your freezer's quit working because it's some cheap piece of garbage made in some other country, and then the heater went out.
This is getting real personal.
The heater went out, and your bike's frozen in the corner with a cracked block because it has water in it. Now's the time to remember. If you live in my climate, don't forget which ones you just put straight water in.
Yeah. There is a line that goes across the United States, literally right about across the middle of it. In fact, maybe even the 60% on the bottom there. And this time of year starts hitting as it starts getting cold and there is water in your block. I will say that if you're storing spare tires and you want to keep them for next year, put them on an inside wall in your garage. Don't leave them on the outside wall. But then, winter comes and you put your bike up and you're a good motorcycle owner. So you're like, yep, it's winter time. I'm going to put everything up, put all the batteries on trickle charger, get all the antifreeze running through if I was running water, check tire pressure. You do all the things. Is it over? Is that the end of motorcycling for the year? You hit October, you hit the first 50-degree chill and you're like, Or for you crazy people that ride in the super cold, you hit the first 40-degree chill and you're like, no. Could be ice on the road. Is that the end of it? Is that it?
Well, not for me.
So that's where we're here to tell you guys. I think for those of you, and this goes back to episode 2, right? Get off your couch and go to the track. If you haven't done that yet and you're still listening to this podcast, I'm a little confused. If you're coming into winter and you're like, man, I really wish I could ride this winter, motorcycle racing season ends. All there is to do is watch football, and well, that's not that much fun. And then party with the family and eat turkey and whatever else. Or you could travel a little bit down south where there are still track days alive and well. In fact, I did a little bit of research prior to this episode. I've got for you track days in November, December. That's at Chuckwalla and Willow Valley and Streets of Willow. I've got Arizona Motorsports Park, Podium Club. What do you know, the Halloween massacre?
Oh yeah.
Yep, the 27th through the 29th. Arizona Motorsports Park again on the November 19th and again on December 10th. December 10th in the middle of winter. Got Chuckwalla again November 11th and 12th. I've got Barber November 25th through the 26th. Homestead, Miami in January, right? Thunder Hill going into October, actually this weekend. Thunder Hill, if you're in, let's say anywhere on the West Coast, you haven't hit Thunder Hill, we've been there.
Love it.
Yeah, if you're not doing anything this weekend, hop on down. At least go watch. Thunder Hill is this is pretty nuts. Definitely worth your time. Chuckwalla again, October 6th, November 17th, 15th. That's with our boys, Apex Assassins. Big shout out to them. They'll be down at the Massacre, I believe. And then, we're going to Carolina Motorsports Park, which does actually stay open pretty much all winter. So I will say that I think most of the tracks that I've seen in December area kind of take a break due to the holiday and due to even people in Vegas think it's cold in December for whatever reason. Like, oh, it's 65. We can't do anything. Which I'll admit, after being out, reacclimatized out to the southern life here, it hit 47 this morning. I had the full heat blast in, all my freaking defrosters on, my heated seats on. I was like, whew. But it wasn't that bad, to be honest. I got out of the truck and it was still 48, 49. I was like, this really isn't that cold. But
so honestly, side note, when it starts to put a chill in the air, it feels good to turn the heater on sometimes.
It does, especially like the heated seats. I love heated seats, and like heated grips on a bike. Like it could be 62, and you're like, well, click those on real quick because that just feels so nice. Yeah, it's something about I used to laugh. Utah's really bad for it, but you hit fall, and it hits anything below 70, and all the girls got their sweatpants or leggings, their white girl UGG boots, and the big old coats and the beanies. And then you hit March, and it hits 42 degrees, and they're out short shorts, bikini tops, whatever it might be, not wearing clothes anymore. And you're like,
well, let's keep this more moto related.
Yeah, there you
go. Yesterday, not so much today because I was working. Yesterday, driving to and from the track. I always love when all of a sudden, like you've had a whole summer of miserable heat.
Yeah.
You've had all this, but now everybody wants to top off their car. Now all the convertibles are driving around and they got their windows up and like mittens on driving around.
Yeah.
It's the last good weekend, but you've had a top on that thing all summer because it was too hot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, convertibles are funny that way. They got to be that perfect weather, which there are some motorcyclers out there that are the exact same way, I would say. But yeah, anyway, our point here was that one, if you don't want to travel down to a track day, that's great. Take the winter to go through your bike, I think. One, make sure it's winterized. If it needs to be, if it doesn't, that's fine. No big deal. But if you're running water, especially, that's like the biggest mistake I've heard of people making is leaving the water in their bikes over the winter.
Man, if you're not riding over the weekend or over the winter, now's a good time to open up a savings account at the local bank, start pulling money together so that you can afford tires next year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or just at the Dunlop guy's tent, you just go put deposits down there, I guess.
You just start sending the dude payments.
Yeah, there's track days available. If not, get some maintenance done, get the bike ready to go, get her ready for next season, or snow bikes.
Yeah, I might have to do that.
There's always snow bikes, that's an option for you wintry people.
So just to reiterate on what you said, obviously with that list you just put out there, you could keep yourself busy at doing track days obviously year round out here in the West. You mentioned a couple on the East Coast, but
Yeah, mostly just Florida. I didn't check Texas because Texas is kind of like its own. Just for people's information, Texas, for the most part, you got to be part of the club to even get their schedule. So you have to sign up for like a membership for the track day events. And if I've got Texas listeners and you guys want to correct me on that and let me know some organizations out there that are a little bit more like the rest of the country, please. But most of the ones I've seen, you got to kind of join the membership club, if you will.
But I just wanted to point out if racing is more your speed, a lot of those you were just mentioning track days, but a lot of those, as an example, the CVMA.
Mm-hmm.
The reason there was so many track days in Chuckwalla over the winter is because the CVMA season just started last weekend.
Yeah, which
And
conveniently CVMA, Chuckwalla Valley Motorcycle Association, I believe.
yep.
So
Yes. So their season just kicked off. So you can go race motorcycle. You don't not just track days. You can chase the series.
yeah,
You go race the whole series, pick out a couple. That's what I hope to do this year. I hope to go out there for a round or two over the
yeah. And
winter.
rumor has it if you want to run with the fastest people in America that aren't in Moto America, maybe they are. That's the place to be. If you want your shot at, I'm not ready for Moto America yet, but I want to prove that I'm the best in the nation. Under that, that's the place to go do it. We got some boys down there that would put some money on themselves and other people there. And I think their first weekend kind of proved that, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talk about fast riders or just wanting to go out and see some competition.
Mm-hmm.
For those that watch Moto America, I'm sure there's 1,000 more. 1,000's kind of a high number, but I'm sure there's a bunch more of them out there. But as an example, Corey Alexander, who was
Mm-hmm.
your on the podium for the last 2 Moto America races this year, he was out there competing in the CVMA. Mallory Dobbs was out there. A lot of people. It's kind of a mecca. It's kind of a mecca because they're the off season for people
Yeah.
to stay sharp.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, they're one of the few race groups that goes over the winter. So, Moto America is done. And then CVMA starts up. And then CVMA stops for their season. And Moto America starts up. So it's perfect for everyone to get some good practice in, do their testing. And so for those of you that aren't trying to run in Moto America but want to go get good and have some really good competition, like that's a great place to find it. People that
Got to
are
figure out.
professionally racing in the summer. So
Got to figure out how to stay sharp over the long winter months.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's honestly all I really had, I think, beyond just kind of standard maintenance.
You know what's really funny to me?
Huh.
We still have one subject that we were gonna broach here.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
So I was wrong. You were wrong.
No,
Everybody else was
yeah.
wrong. How do we go?
Yeah.
How do we go an hour and whatever minutes here and not bring up old golden underwear?
I just wasn't going to. We were just going to
Well,
gloss over it. We've talked about MotoGP so much that I was like, what, we get back to our roots and just talk about motorcycling for a little bit.
yeah, and I like that, but that's pretty big news that we got to at least touch on.
It is big news, yeah. If you haven't seen it, I would be surprised. You must not follow. I mean, MotoGP has posted every day since then something related to him.
So have you ordered a purple flag?
No. What?
You gonna put a purple flag on the front of your house now?
No, man.
He has to change his colors.
No, he's still red.
You think?
Von Meer's colors are bright yellow, just like Rossi. It doesn't matter what bike they're on. The number
Yeah, but then he
stays.
just looks stupid because he's on a bike that's one color and his boots don't match. I swear, they just don't look right.
It won't look right, but I mean, that's what they do.
I'm-
Also, let's be honest for half a second.
we haven't even said it for the two people in the world that don't know. We haven't even said it.
Marc Marquez ain't staying at Honda anymore.
Boom. You were
He
wrong.
officially came out.
You were completely wrong.
I was completely wrong, but I've got a new theory. We'll get into that in half a second. Marc Marquez goes to Grassini. He hasn't come out and said that yet, but it's where pretty much everyone's assuming, right?
It's the only open seat, technically.
Kind of, yeah, because they did just finish up. KTM officially signed, so yeah. besides the factory Honda seat. Anyway,
Mm.
Mark Marquez goes over to Grassini and brings all the sponsors with him, and you don't think they might put a little bit more red on the bike?
That's fair.
Like, I'm just saying the dude will bring money, so
So word on the street is Johann Zarco is going to take his seat
on the
because
factory.
he signed with LCR, but that's your best option. Move Zarco up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, I don't know who else they could put on there unless they just want to run Mir for a bit.
Well, they're
Which
going
one
to
would
leave Mir
be?
on there, but they have to field 2 teams. It's part of their contract. So,
Yeah, well, they don't have to fill 2 bikes, right?
and that's part of their contract. I'm sure they do.
To field 2
So,
factory
you know
bikes.
how when a racer gets injured, like Bastianini, for example, Piro comes in, who's now injured, by the way.
Yeah.
But Piro comes in, you can miss like the next week. If a rider gets injured on a Sunday, they'll allow you to miss the next week, but you are required to fill the bike
Okay,
that
I
next
didn't
week.
realize that was a requirement. I thought the bikes did. I thought the teams just did it for testing purposes, so that's good. Good to know. Who knows? Maybe Stefan Bradl will just race this season.
No.
But yeah, the Joan Mir
Honda's
or not
desperate, but I don't even know if they're that desperate.
there's too many Joans. Johan.
Johan?
Is it a J or a Y?
It's a J, Joan.
Well, I know it's spelled that way, but also I'm pretty sure there's an H in there. It's French, right? He's
Who?
Zarco.
Oh, there is
Because
an H in that one.
the
I
other one
was
is
on
just
Mir. I was on Mir.
Mir. I thought was just Jon. Oh man, I'm getting messed up now. Holy cow! This is what you didn't prepare me for. I didn't realize I'd have to re-memorize all the names.
Yes, Johan Zarco is French. You are correct. Joan Mir
Yeah,
is Spanish.
yeah. Johan is Johann. But that sounds like it should be Johan, and then
Johan
Joan Mir.
is
You're right.
spelled how?
Joan. Yeah. Shout out to, I'll give Australia this. Jack Miller. Wow. Is it so hard?
He could be your neighbor.
He could, honestly. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, there's some interesting things coming up.
Yeah, we don't know where Mark's going, but he's not staying at Honda, and MotoGP won't stop talking about it. It's kind of been really annoying.
Well,
Not like annoying, but
it is interesting because the fight happening right now, which was probably already settled, just like the fact of him moving, probably been settled for a long time. But who's he taking with him? Because he's got
like sponsor wise.
well, that's a separate that sponsors will be interesting for sure, but crew chief the people that work directly with him.
Yeah.
There's some, that I forget the guy's name, the curly headed guy with the clipboard that's always in his ear.
I know who you're talking about.
Those guys been together since the beginning. He's trying to take him.
Yeah.
So,
Mark as crew. I'll just put in crew chief. See what that comes up with. Santi Hernandez. Oh, reports Wednesday suggested Marquez will not be able to take any of his team, including the highly respected crew chief Santi Hernandez, with him when he leaves.
see, so this was what I wanted to get into was Ducati is willing to let Mark come over there, and not because he doesn't deserve to be, or not that it won't be a good thing. All that aside, he's just a rider. He can come over and ride the bike, but they'd have to open up the books for Honda. Basically, they're taking a real chance if they let crew chiefs come over and take a look.
Yeah, that's what. So that's kind of where my head was at. As I was like, is this just a long play for Honda? They're like, oh, we're so mad. Shame on you, Mark. How dare you? Grab all the secrets while you're over there. Come back in a year. You've got your seat back. And just he comes right back with it. And I don't know. There's a big part of me that wants to believe that Mark just wants to win. And I was actually talking with the wife about this the other day, and I was like, you look at Mark Marquez, and there have been other people, but he is one of the people that you can say without a doubt will win a championship pretty early on in the season. He'll keep racing. Look at Fabio Quartararo a couple of years ago, and I'm not necessarily saying anything bad, but as soon as he won the championship, he started to fall off in the timesheets. And there are others that have done that. So I see Mark as a guy that just wants to win races. Now, not that that means he doesn't want a world championship. Obviously, that means a lot. But I think there's still a part of him that's just like, dude, I just want to go win races on a motorcycle. So
Well, I had a couple people send Instagram posts showing me that Mark was still with his girlfriend. So
yeah,
after my comments last week, so I will point out that sometimes, I see it with like a Josh Herron. People
mm-hmm.
people always ask where his drive's at, right? And I have my own opinion on that. If he's ever listening to this, he can correct me if I'm wrong. But he waited till he was a little longer in the tooth before he had a kid, and I know that from personal experience. You want your kid to be old enough to remember who you were.
Yeah.
And Mark might want to remind his girlfriend who he is.
Sure.
That's a stretch, but I wanted to bring her up again.
Okay. I did I think it was a story or a post from him that I saw that had her in it, and I was like, yes, because I went and Instagram stalked him, and I was like, hold up, is she still around? Because it's been a minute since she's been in his posts, but they haven't deleted each other from their posts yet, and then he posted a picture with her, so everything's good as far as we can tell on the relationship front. We'll see. Coming up this week in Indonesia, we'll see how everything goes. See if we get any more news from Mark and where he's actually going. Even though everyone knows it's probably Ducati. Yeah, winter doesn't mean you can't ride, but if you're not going to ride, take care of your bike. And even if you are going to ride, take care of your bike. Careful on the ice. Ain't a single motorcycle that's going to be able to handle the ice unless you get like studded ice tires and you're in Alaska doing that thing. Otherwise, please be careful on the ice. I've seen some people do some dumb stuff on the ice because they didn't realize it was icy. Rain, snow, dirt, asphalt, water, whatever. Ice is a whole different story. So,
And normally I would recommend that after the winter, you take it easy when you first get back on your bike because it takes a minute to get back up to speed, all your reflexes going. But I don't have to tell you guys that this time because you're going to hit track days all winter long.
there you go. You're going to race with CVMA, actually.
You're going to race with CVMA. You're going to be sharp. And
yeah, I will say, in my line of work, I've spent some time away from a motorcycle and from the racetrack, and there was a time where I was away for a while, and then I came back and I got on the track and I was like, yeah, I gotta take it easy, and then I did like one lap and I was like, who am I kidding? You ain't gotta take it easy. It comes right back. It's like riding a bike.
weird.
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, well, if you didn't have anything else, I think on that
magical note, let's end it.
Call it good. Thanks again for being here and listening. Make sure you tune in next week and go listen to our past 27 episodes. This is episode 28. We'll be here pretty much every Wednesday. I think we're coming up on holidays, so we haven't discussed that yet. We'll let you guys know what our holiday plan is, but I think you can expect us more than maybe the average podcast, if you will. So
absolutely. Plus, watch out for the footage coming from Carolina, the footage coming from Arizona. There's going to be good stuff coming out of there.
Yep. Some good motorcycle reviews, track reviews. We're going to try a track review video segment on the channel, so keep an eye out for that. Let us know what you guys think. It's a new thing we're looking for. So thanks again. Once again, click that comment, drop one down. Let us know where you're from. Pirelli, Dunlop, Michelin, the other brands, Metzler, whatever else you want in there. Those are the big three, I'd say. Where you're from, where you're listening from. And then go ahead and click subscribe if you're on YouTube, download if you're anywhere else, and hit that like button for us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Okay. Thanks for listening.